Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into something I think is incredibly relevant right now, maybe more than ever. We're in this time of just unprecedented change, wouldn't you say? So much opportunity.
Absolutely. Think about it. Information doubling constantly, technology just exploding.
Yeah, and competition from everywhere. It's exciting, but, it can feel a bit intense.
It really can. And, in times like these, how do you really figure out who someone is?
Right.
It's not what they say they'll do or hope to do. It's what they actually do, day in, day out, especially when things get tough.
That's so true. And it makes you think about learning. I saw this statistic. Fewer than 10% of adults are continuously learning, reading books, taking courses.
It's striking, isn't it? And that 10%, they're the ones not just watching the future happen. They're building it.
And hey, if you're listening to this, you're already in that camp. You're engaging, thinking, not just reacting. You're part of that talented 10th, you could say.
Definitely. And speaking of building, there's this core idea, this kind of fundamental truth about success. People like Emerson talked about it 150 years ago. Earl Nightingale, too.
What is it?
Simply this. You become what you think about.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So simple, but profound.
It really is. I mean, if you break it down, all causation, everything that happens in your life, it starts in your mind. It's mental.
So your external world is just a reflection.
In a very real sense, yes.
Yeah.
A reflection of your dominant thoughts. Change the quality of your thinking, you actually change your life, your destiny even. It's about being intentional.
Being intentional with your thinking gets, a lot harder when the world's spinning so fast, right?
Exactly. You mentioned information doubling. You basically have to keep doubling your knowledge, your skills, just to tread water, just to stay even.
It feels like running on a treadmill sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to be smarter, faster, better, just to keep up.
And that constant pressure brings us to a core truth about life. It's a series of problems, difficulties, obstacles, setbacks, challenges. They don't stop.
Yeah, you can't avoid them.
You can't. The real game isn't avoidance. It's how effectively you respond. You know that movie quote, "Isn't everything a test?"
Oh, yeah. I think it is.
And leaders, the ones who rise, they develop this thoughtfulness. They get really good at taking in tons of information and making sharp decisions. Think of General Lee respecting the Union general who could outthink him, or Schwarzkopf in the Gulf War.
Right. His whole focus was on outthinking the opponent.
Precisely. And that's kind of what we want to equip you with today, thinking tools. Tools to outthink challenges, to outperform, to, blast through those things holding you back, your success barriers.
Success barriers. I like that, like breaking the sound barrier. People thought that was impossible.
Exactly. Engineers called it an invisible wall. Then Chuck Yeager just blew right through it. And later, someone even broke it on land in '97.
Incredible. So things thought impossible just weren't.
And that applies to financial independence, too. People say it's out of reach now, but more people are becoming millionaires today faster than ever.
Despite all the negativity you hear sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The negative thinkers are loud, but the facts are interesting. Most self-made millionaires in the U.S., they've been broke, or nearly broke, like 3 or more times.
So it's not about a smooth ride at all.
Not at all. It's about resilience. It's about how you handle those setbacks.
Okay, so if we talk about my success barriers, or yours, listening, where are the biggest ones usually?
Well, usually they're inside, not outside. We're talking fear. We're talking doubt. Those are the big ones.
The twin enemies.
Yeah. But here's the thing, and this is liberating. No one is fundamentally smarter than you. No one is inherently better.
Really?
Think about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everyone's got the same basic set of muscles, right? About 610 of them. Arnold just worked relentlessly on his physically for years.
Okay.
You have the same mental muscles. The potential is there. The question is, are you working on them?
How important is optimism in that work?
Oh, it's huge. Arguably the most important quality for success. Optimists aren't naive. They see problems, but they immediately pivot to solutions.
They're always asking how.
Always how.
Wow.
How do we fix this? How do we move forward? How can this challenge actually benefit us? It's a completely different orientation.
And that creates a kind of momentum, right? Like a positive cycle.
Exactly. An upward spiral.
Yeah.
You achieve a goal, you feel happier, more confident. You start liking yourself more, respecting yourself more.
So you set bigger goals next time.
Precisely. And here's a fantastic shortcut, really. Whatever problem you're facing right now, someone else has almost certainly solved it already.
That's a comforting thought.
It is. Whatever goal you have, thousands, maybe millions have done it. You don't need to reinvent everything. The smart way is to find out how others did it, learn their methods, apply them, and, well, expect similar results.
Which leads us nicely into the main theme for this deep dive, doesn't it?
It does. Brian Tracy, who's done incredible work in this field, was fascinated by military history. He realized that the principles used by great military leaders in chaotic, high-stakes situations, often against crazy odds, those principles applied directly to business, to personal success.
He calls it the warrior mindset.
That's the term. And it's not about aggression in the negative sense. It's about strategic thinking, resilience, focus. These incredibly powerful methods forged in the toughest environments.
So that's what we're going to unpack, these thinking tools. Tools to help you solve problems easier, overcome obstacles faster, and really just achieve your goals more rapidly than maybe you thought possible. 1. The principle of the objective. Clarity is command. Okay, let's jump right in. First principle. The principle of the objective. In military thinking, this is, well, it's job one. It comes before anything else.
Absolutely, because think about it. Fuzziness, vagueness about what you're actually trying to do, that's the #1 reason for failure. In war, in business, in your own life.
And the flip side.
Crystal clarity, knowing exactly what success looks like. That clarity is the single biggest factor in success.
You see that in history, right? Like with Eisenhower.
Definitely. General Marshall gave Eisenhower a mission for WWII. It was incredibly clear. Proceed to London, invade Europe, and defeat the Germans. Simple, direct, no ambiguity. Same with Schwarzkopf in the Gulf War. Objective, get the Iraqi army out of Kuwait. Boom, everyone knew the goal.
Okay, so how does this translate for us personally?
It means setting really clear, really specific goals for every part of your life.
Every part, like...
Yeah, personal, family, financial, career, health, spiritual growth, community contribution, all of it. Your ability to define those targets and plan how to hit them, that's the master skill of success.
If you don't have your own clear goals, you're basically working towards someone else's or just drifting.
Exactly, you're just reacting. So how do you actually do this? There are like 7 key steps.
Okay, let's break them down. Step 1.
First, decide exactly what you want. Sounds obvious, maybe, but most people are vague here. I want more money. How much exactly? I want to lose weight. How many pounds specifically? Get laser focused.
Yeah.
That clarity actually fires up your subconscious mind. It gives it a target.
Okay, specificity. Got it. Step 2.
Second, write it down. This is huge.
Yeah.
Only about 3% of adults have written goals.
Only 3%.
Yeah. And studies show they achieve vastly more than everyone else combined. An unwritten goal. It's just a wish. Smoke. Writing it down. It gives it substance. It makes it real.
Okay, write it down. Step 3.
Third, set a deadline. A goal without a deadline is still just a wish, really. The deadline creates what's called a subconscious forcing system.
A forcing system.
Yeah, it gently pushes you, creates a sense of urgency, makes you take it seriously.
Right. Makes sense. Step 4.
Fourth, make a list. Brainstorm absolutely everything you think you'll need to do to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
Just making the list itself is powerful. The longer it gets, the more you start to believe, hey, I could actually do this. It builds confidence.
Okay, list everything. Step 5.
Fifth, organize the list. Turn that brainstorm into a plan. What comes first? What's most important? What activity will give you the biggest bang for your buck right now? Sequence and priority.
So strategy comes in here.
Definitely. Then step 6, and this is where many plans fall apart. Take action immediately.
Don't just plan, do.
Do. All successful people are intensely action-oriented. Do something, anything, right away. Get the ball rolling. Action is everything.
Love that. Action is everything.
Okay.
And the last step. Step 7.
Seventh, do something every single day. Every day, do at least one thing that moves you towards your most important goal. Build momentum and don't stop. Keep that plate spinning.
Keep the plate spinning. Okay, that's a powerful framework.
It really is. And here's a quick exercise anyone can do right now. Grab a blank sheet of paper, write goals and today's date at the top.
Okay.
Then list 10 goals you want to achieve in the next 12 months. Write them in the present tense as if they're already true. I earn X dollars. I weigh Y pounds. I achieve Z.
Present tense Y.
It programs your subconscious more effectively. Now, Brian Tracy swears by this. He says, if you do this, put the list away and look at it a year later, you'll find, amazingly, that you've achieved maybe 80% of those goals, often in unexpected ways.
Wow. Just from writing them down.
And crucially, prioritizing them. After you list the 10, ask yourself, if I could only achieve one of these goals in the next year, which one would have the greatest positive impact on my life? Circle that one, That's your major, definite purpose for now.
Okay. Find the number one goal, then what?
Then dig deeper on that number one goal. Ask, what extra knowledge or skills do I need? What are the biggest roadblocks I'll face? And critically, what's the main bottleneck? What's the limiting step that controls how fast I can achieve this?
Finding the constraint.
Exactly. Is it internal, like a skill I need to develop, or external, like needing funding or someone's help? Identifying that is key.
This really ties into leadership qualities too, doesn't it? Even for personal goals.
Absolutely. Think about 4 core leadership qualities. First, vision. Not just a vague hope, but a clear, exciting mental picture of your ideal future. What does perfect success look like 5 years out? Can you see it?
Got that picture.
Second, courage. The guts to do what it takes. Self-discipline. Acting even when you're not sure you'll succeed. Stepping out. Third, realism. Or, intellectual honesty. Seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it was. Being honest about your strengths, yes, but also your weaknesses. No sugarcoating.
Facing reality.
And
Fourth, responsibility. Total ownership. Accepting you are where you are because of you. No excuses, no blaming, no complaining. It's that mindset. If it's to be, it's up to me.
Wow. Powerful stuff. So project forward 5 years. Imagine that perfect success. And realize the only real limits are
The ones you put on your own thinking, that clarity, that vision, that responsibility, that's your starting point. That's the principle, the objective in action. 2, the offensive, seizing initiative.
Okay, let's move to the second principle. This one sounds dynamic. The offensive. What's this about?
It's about taking the initiative. The core idea is seize, retain, and exploit the initiative. Don't wait for things to happen to you. You, as the commander of your life, set the pace. You determine the direction.
Proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. There's a great concept from Robert Ronstadt. He called it the corridor principle for entrepreneurs.
Corridor principle. Yeah, the idea is when you launch yourself towards a goal, you enter this metaphorical corridor. As you move down it, new doors, new opportunities start appearing on the sides, things you couldn't even see from the start.
So action reveals opportunities.
Precisely. And often success comes from those unexpected side doors, not the original path you envisioned. You have to be moving to see them.
I love that. It reminds me of what General Patton said. Something like, the only sure defense is offense.
That's the one. And Napoleon.
Us.
No great battles are ever won on the defensive. This isn't just about war, it's about your career, your goals. If you're playing defense, just trying to hold on, you're already falling behind.
It feels better to be moving forward too, doesn't it? Psychologically.
Oh, absolutely. Psychologists tell us that positive feelings, optimism, they come directly from feeling in control. And what gives you a sense of control?
Taking action.
Taking action. When you feel controlled by events or other people, that's where stress comes from. But when you take deliberate steps towards your goals, you feel powerful. You're making things happen.
Yeah, that forward momentum feels crucial for just happiness, right?
It really is. You know the saying, happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal? It's the progress that makes you feel good, makes you feel like a winner, boosts your self-esteem.
And when you stop moving forward.
That's when the negativity creeps in. Doubt, fear, sometimes even depression. It's why successful people often seem relentlessly busy. They understand the power of constant forward motion.
Can you give us a historical example of this offensive principle?
Sure, think about the Mongols under Genghis Khan. They were often hugely outnumbered, but they conquered vast empires.
How?
Speed and attack. Incredible speed, deception, and a relentless offensive. Take the Mongol siege. They wouldn't just attack a city wall for a few hours and rest. They'd attack nonstop, 24 hours a day, in shifts until the wall just broke.
Wow, just relentless pressure.
Relentless, sustained attack. The lesson. Continuous, sustained action towards any goal dramatically increases your odds of success. It's that refusal to quit, that constant push.
That makes so much sense. And it ties into overcoming the fear of failure too, doesn't it? Because taking the offensive means risking failure.
Absolutely. And remember, the biggest reason people fail isn't the failure itself, it's the fear of failing. It paralyzes them.
Right.
Charles Kettering, the inventor, said something like, an inventor fails 999 times, but if he succeeds once, he's in. And Phil Knight from Nike, you only have to succeed the last time.
Huh. I like that. One big win wipes out all the losses.
It really can. It frees you up to keep trying, keep taking initiative.
How does this offensive mindset play out in business today?
Well, look at R&D. Companies that are constantly innovating, constantly upgrading their products and services, they're the ones that thrive. The best ones aim for like 80% of their sales to come from products developed in the last 5 years.
Even knowing most new products fail.
Even knowing the failure rate for new products is often around 80%. It's the sheer volume of attempts, the constant offensive push that leads to breakthroughs.
Okay, what about in sales? How can someone apply the offensive there?
Here's a simple, powerful technique if you want to, say, double your sales income in a year. Ready?
Yep.
Call on 100 new prospects as fast as you possibly can.
100 new ones. Fast.
Yes. And here's the kicker. Don't even worry about making sales on those first contacts. Just focus on making the calls, making the connections.
Wait, don't worry about the sale. How does that work?
Paradoxically, it relaxes you and the prospect. You learn faster because you're not tense. You open doors you might have avoided if you were hyper-focused on closing that first call. It's about generating massive activity, taking the offensive through sheer volume.
That's counterintuitive, but makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do we structure this offensive? Is there a framework?
Yes, a really effective one called the GOSPA formula, GOSPA.
Okay, what does that stand for?
G is for goals, your clear final desired outcomes, like doubling your income. O is for objectives, the specific, measurable steps to reach the goal, like doubling your number of sales calls or mastering a key skill.
Goals, objectives.
S is for strategies. These are the different ways you could achieve your objectives. Maybe you hire more people. Maybe you focus on training. Maybe you outsource certain tasks like prospecting. You brainstorm different approaches.
And you need to evaluate those strategies, right?
Absolutely. This is where a SWOT analysis comes in: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Be brutally honest here. Don't fall into the trap of, I want to so I can, or I need to so I can.
Right, like Jack Welch said.
If you don't have competitive advantage, don't compete. Know your real strengths and weaknesses. Be realistic.
Okay, GOSP.
P is for plans. Now you take your chosen strategy and break it down into detailed action steps. Brainstorm everything you need to do. The 80-20 rule applies here too. 20% of your planning time often yields 80% of the results. Good planning saves huge amounts of time later.
Goals, objectives, strategies, plans, and A.
A is for actions. These are the specific, measurable, time-bound tasks assigned to individuals. This is where the rubber meets the road. At the end of the day, action is everything. GSPAG gives you the structure, but action drives the offensive.
And taking action gives you feedback, right? Which lets you adjust.
Exactly. You need rapid feedback loops. Think of Lee Iacocca wanting to test the market for a convertible. Engineer said 2 years for a prototype. What did he do? Told them to take a blowtorch, cut the roof off an existing car that day. He drove it around Detroit. People smiled and waved. Boom! Instant market research.
That's brilliant. Quick action, real feedback.
Peak performers do that constantly. Act fast, get feedback, adjust course. Don't wait for perfect information.
Sounds like General Rommel in North Africa.
The Desert Fox. Exactly his style. Constant action, continuous offensive, even when outnumbered. He'd hit the British forces right as they landed, never letting them get set, kept them perpetually off balance.
So, applying this to us, we need to think about our own long-term offensive.
Yes. Project 3, 5 years out. See yourself as a president of You Inc., selling your services in a competitive market. What skills will you need? What reputation must you build? What's your offensive plan?
Because leadership isn't just a title.
It's action, it's performance, it's results, more than anything else.
Let's look at Alexander the Great again. At Ischias, vastly outnumbered by Darius.
Maybe 20-1. Yet he didn't play defense. He attacked off the march, going straight for the strongest point where Darius himself was.
Why the strongest point?
Because psychologically, that's where the enemy was weakest. Take out the leader, the linchpin, and the whole thing crumbles. And it worked. Total rout in under 2 hours. A decisive offensive strike.
Incredible. And the lesson for us?
Decide exactly what you want your objective, then act. Act as if it were impossible to fail. That's the heart of the offensive mindset. 3, simplify. The power of less.
Okay, principle 3. And this one feels incredibly relevant today.
Yeah.
Simplify. The power of less. I mean, who doesn't feel overwhelmed sometimes?
Right. We live in probably the busiest time in all of human history. Too much to do, not enough time. Things just keep getting more complex. If you want to break through, you have to learn to simplify.
How does this concept show up in military strategy?
It's a core principle. Prepare clear, uncomplicated plans. Give clear, concise orders. Why? To eliminate any possibility of misunderstanding on the battlefield. Confusion is deadly. Simplicity is strength.
And for us, personally, how do we apply that?
It means constantly looking for ways to reduce the number of things you're doing. Cut back. Focus your energy on the few things that contribute the most value.
Avoid the side roads.
Avoid the side roads. They often become slide roads that pull you away from your main objective. Focus is key, and simplicity enables focus.
It also ties into what you said earlier about knowledge being the new source of value, right?
Absolutely. It used to be land, then capital. Now it's usable knowledge, your ability to acquire and apply practical knowledge. That's your edge. Simplifying frees up mental bandwidth to focus on that high-value learning and application.
You mentioned a law of complexity. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it's a fascinating insight. Basically, it says the potential cost, the number of potential mistakes, and the time required for any activity. It increases by the square of the number of steps involved.
By the square. Wow. Can you give an example?
Sure. Simple one. You need to make a phone call. If you make it yourself, that's one step. Complexity, 1 squared equals 1. Pretty simple.
Okay.
Now, say you ask your assistant to make the call for you. That's 2 steps, you asking them making the call. Complexity, 2 squared equals 4. 4 times more complex.
Whoa.
Now imagine you ask your assistant to ask another person to make the call. 3 steps. Complexity, 3 squared equals 9. See how fast it explodes. More steps mean exponential, more chances for things to go wrong, take longer, cost more.
That explains so many project delays.
It really does. I had this experience trying to produce a simple newsletter. I involved 6 different people, 6 steps, complexity level.
Only 6.
36. It was a complete disaster. Took months, colors were wrong, no return address, just chaos the next time. We simplified. 2 people handled everything. Out in 30 days, perfect. Complexity kills efficiency.
Okay, sold on simplicity. How do we actually do it? What are the techniques?
Number 1, and we touched on this, think on paper. Make lists. Seriously, there is no faster way to get clarity and control than writing things down.
Like that Ivy Lee story with Charles Schwab.
Exactly. Schwab paid a fortune back then, like $500,000 in today's money, for the simple advice. Each day, write down your 6 most important tasks, prioritize them, then work on number 1 until it's done, then number 2, and so on. Schwab said it was the most profitable lesson he ever learned.
So just making lists.
And using them. Use a time planner. Consolidate everything work personal onto a master list. Then make monthly, weekly, daily lists from that. Pro tip, plan your next day the night before.
Why the night before?
Your subconscious actually chews on it overnight. You wake up clearer, more focused. Plus, working from a list gives you that amazing sense of control and accomplishment as you check things off.
Okay, lists and planning. What else?
Remember the 80-20 rule again. Apply it to your tasks. 20% of what you do produces 80% of your results. Focus on that high value 20%. Often those are the bigger, harder tasks you tend to put off.
The ones we procrastinate on.
Usually. Because the easy, fun tasks often contribute very little value. Always ask, what are the consequences of doing or not doing this task? Focus on consequence.
That leads to prioritization, right? I've heard of the ABCDE method.
Yes. It's brilliant for simplifying your priorities. A tasks are must-do. Serious positive or negative consequences, your top priorities. If you have several, rank them A1, A2, A3.
Okay, A is vital.
B tasks are should-do. Mild consequences if they don't get done right away. The rule, never do a B task if you have an A task undone.
Okay, A before BC.
C tasks are nice to do. No real consequences if you never do them. Coffee breaks, casual calls, reading unrelated news. The rule, resist doing C's when B's are waiting and never do B's when A's are waiting.
That sounds tough. Requires discipline.
It's purely self-discipline, character, willpower. But it's how you focus on what matters.
Okay, A, B, C, D.
D is for delegate. Look at your list. What can someone else do? Delegate everything possible to free your time for the A tasks that only you can do. Think of that top real estate agent who delegated all her housework. Her income shot up because she focused on her A task, selling.
Makes sense. And E.
E is for eliminate. This is about creative abandonment. What are you doing now that you could just stop doing altogether? Set posteriorities, things to do less of, or discontinue?
Like what?
Maybe cutting back drastically on TV, aimless web surfing, meetings that aren't productive. Ask trusted colleagues, what do you think I should stop doing? Get an outside perspective. I know a company president who resigned from multiple boards, simplified her life, improved its quality, and her business performance.
Wow. So eliminate low-value activities.
Ruthlessly.
Right.
And related to that, get rid of physical clutter. When in doubt, throw it out. Clear your workspace. Always work from a clear desk. Studies show it significantly boosts productivity. Don't be a pack rat with piles of might read someday stuff.
Clear desk, clear mind. Okay. Are there broader frameworks for simplification in, say, management?
Yes, people talk about the 7 R's of management. They're all tools for simplification and boosting productivity.
7 R's. Okay, quick rundown.
Sure. Re-engineering. Analyzing processes step by step, asking why, and eliminating unnecessary steps. Often cuts 30% right away. Think of that insurance company going from 60-day approvals to 24 hours, or Motorola making pagers in 45 minutes instead of 14 months. Often involves job compression, giving fewer people more responsibility over a whole process.
Okay, re-engineering. Next.
Reorganization. Constantly shifting people and resources around to get more output for the input. It's dynamic, restructuring, moving resources, time, money, people, away from low-value activities, the 80% towards high-value ones, the 20%.
Makes sense. What else?
Reinventing. Use the walk across the street method. Imagine starting your job or business over today, knowing what you know now. What would you do differently? What would you not do? Reevaluating. Constantly reflecting. Experience plus reflection equals wisdom, right?
Two more.
Refocusing. Bringing all your resources to bear on the one or two things that make the biggest difference. Laser focus. And finally, regaining control. This is the result of all the other R's. Simplicity gives you back control over your time and your life.
And that feeling of control reduces stress.
Tremendously. If you're stressed because you have too much to do, it means your life is out of control. Simplification is the ongoing process to regain that control, get more done, be happier, and ultimately be more successful. 4, the power of concentration. Laser focus.
All right, principle number 4. And you've hinted this might be the most important one. The power of concentration.
I really think it is. Your ability to pick the most important thing, focus on it exclusively, and stay with it until it's 100% complete. That single discipline, it's probably the biggest determinant of success.
And that takes serious self-discipline.
Absolutely. Self-discipline is just making yourself do what you know you should do right when you should do it, whether you feel like it at that moment or not. Napoleon Hill called it the master key to riches. It's the engine behind concentration.
How does this relate to military strategy? Is there a principle there?
Yes, the principle of mass. It's about concentrating your combat power, your forces, at the decisive point, at the critical time.
Oh, yeah.
For you personally, it means massing your energy, your focus, your talent on the one or two activities that will yield the greatest results. Napoleon said, "A single battalion sometimes decides the day. Small, concentrated effort can be decisive."
You see that in business too, right? Companies focusing intensely.
All the time. Think of Apple focusing relentlessly on their operating system to compete with giants like IBM back in the day, or IBM dominating mainframes by being the absolute best in that one area. Peter Drucker nailed it. Whenever you see something getting done, you find a monomaniac with a mission.
A monomaniac with a mission. I like that. So how do we figure out where to apply that monomania in our own work?
You need to identify your critical success factors, your CSFs. These are the handful of things, maybe 5 to 7 key activities that you absolutely must do well to succeed in your role or business.
The 5 to 7 key things.
Yeah, and failure in just one of these critical areas can actually hold you back completely, no matter how good you are at the others. It can be fatal to your progress.
Can you give an example, like for a manager?
Sure. For management, typical CSFs are things like planning, organizing, staffing, getting the right people, delegating, supervising, measuring results, and reporting. Now, say you're great at everything else, but you're terrible at staffing, you keep hiring wrong people. That single weakness can act like a brake on your whole career.
Okay, so weakness in one CSF can derail you.
Totally. This ties into the winning edge theory, which says that sometimes even small differences in ability, particularly in these critical areas, can lead to enormous differences in results.
So a small improvement in a key skill can have a huge impact.
A massive leveraged impact. That's why top performers are experts at deploying themselves, their time, their energy, like valuable scarce resources, focusing them on their CSFs.
What about CSFs for, say, a salesperson?
Typically, prospecting, finding leads, building rapport and trust, identifying the customer's need accurately, presenting the solution effectively, answering objections, closing the sale, getting commitment, and finally, getting referrals and repeat business.
And again, weakness in one, like fear of prospecting,
can kill your results. Even if you're a brilliant presenter, you have to be competent across all your CSFs.
And for a business owner.
Generally 8 key areas: production or service delivery, quality control, marketing, sales, finance, leadership, innovation, and distribution. You have to constantly strive for improvement in all of them.
So the crucial question for everyone listening is,
what is your limiting factor right now? What's the bottleneck? Or put another way, what one skill, if you developed and executed it consistently in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact on your career?
Find that one skill.
Identify it. Make a plan. Work on it relentlessly until you master it. That's leverage. That's concentration.
Let's bring in another Alexander the Great story, Gaugamela. This one sounds epic.
Oh, it is. 331 BC, Alexander faces Darius III again. This time, Darius has maybe 1 million men. Alexander has maybe 40, 50,000, outnumbered at least 20 to 1. Insane odds.
What did Alexander do? How do you concentrate force against that?
He didn't try to fight everywhere. He focused his entire elite cavalry, his companions, with himself at the front on one single objective: kill Darius.
Just go straight for the king?
Exactly. He knew, again, if Darius fell or fled, the sheer size of the Persian army wouldn't matter. It would panic and collapse. It was an incredibly risky, focused, spear-like thrust right at the heart of the enemy command.
And it worked.
Spectacularly. Darius fled, the army disintegrated. One of the most decisive battles in history, won through absolute concentration of force on the single most critical objective against unbelievable odds. It shaped the next 2,000 years of Western history.
Wow. The power of focus and the personal lesson there is.
Intensity of purpose wins. The person who wants it the most, the longest, the hardest, who concentrates their energy unrelentingly, they will eventually prevail.
It also makes me think about how we use our energy. You mentioned return on equity in business.
Right. Companies want the best return on the money invested. Personally, your strategic goal should be to maximize your return on energy.
Return on energy.
ROE.
Yeah. Your mental, emotional, physical energy, that's your capital. Are you investing it wisely? Think about it. If you work for 10 years and only increase your net worth by $20,000, you traded a decade of your life energy for $2,000 a year. Is that a good return?
Probably not.
It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is where you're going and how effectively you're concentrating your precious energy on getting there.
And does concentrating your energy actually give you more energy? It sounds paradoxical.
It really does. When you're deeply focused on high-value, important work, it's invigorating, it releases endorphins, you feel stronger, more powerful, and over time you actually become impatient with low-value stuff.
Like the person you mentioned who went from 21K to 540K. Exactly. He said he just naturally lost interest in watching mindless TV or idle gossip. His energy automatically gravitated towards productive, high-return activities. Concentration reconditions you.
So we need to know our high-value activities, our key result areas, right? Like, why are we actually getting paid?
Precisely. You're hired for outputs, for results, not just for being busy. And the 80-20 rule applies fiercely here. You could become excellent at 80% of the tasks you do, but if they only contribute 20% of the value, you still fail.
Ouch. Focus on the critical 20%.
Focus on the few things that deliver extraordinary results. Ask yourself Peter Drucker's famous question, what can you and only you do that if done well will make a real difference?
That's a powerful question. Identify your unique high-impact contribution.
And related to that, Tracy and Wiersima studied dominant companies. They found these companies typically excel, they concentrate in one of 3 areas.
Only 3. What are they?
Customer intimacy, building deep relationships, amazing service. Think Nordstrom, maybe? Product innovation and quality cutting-edge tech, superior design. Think Apple or Sony, historically. Or operational excellence, incredible efficiency, low prices, consistency. Think McDonald's or Walmart.
And you can't be the best at all 3.
It's practically impossible. You pick one area to dominate, and then you must maintain high standards in the other 2. You can apply this to your own career, too. Are you going to win through relationships, innovation, or efficiency? Concentrate your efforts there.
This all comes back to fighting procrastination too, doesn't it? Which you said is the #1 reason for failure.
Financial failure, especially. Procrastination is often a symptom of short-term thinking. Real success needs that long-term perspective combined with intense short-term focus on the right things. Keep asking, what is the most valuable use of my time right now?
That question keeps bringing you back to concentration.
It does. And one final military concept here, the reverse salient.
Reverse salient. What's that?
Imagine your battle line moving forward, but there's one area lagging behind, creating a bulge or vulnerability. That's a reverse salient. It holds back the entire advance.
Okay.
In your life, it could be a skill you lack, a bad habit, a difficult relationship, a competitor's advantage. Something specific that's acting as a brake. Identifying and decisively addressing that one reverse salient can unlock massive progress everywhere else. It's another form of strategic concentration. 5, unity of command, leadership, and trust.
Okay, moving on to principle 5, unity of command. This sounds very military. What's the core idea?
It's fundamental. For every objective, there should be unity of effort under one responsible commander. Everyone knows who they report to, expectations are clear, the lines of authority are unambiguous.
So no confusion about who's in charge.
Exactly. When command is unified, power flows effectively. When it's fragmented or confused, disaster often follows.
Is there a stark example of that, when unity of command failed?
Tragically, yes. The attempted rescue of American hostages in Iran back in 1979, Operation Eagle Claw.
I remember that. It didn't go well.
It was an absolute catastrophe. Why? Multiple military branches involved, conflicting commanders on the ground, incompatible equipment, poor intelligence sharing, constant second-guessing from Washington, complete lack of unified command. It was doomed from the start.
Wow. A painful lesson in what not to do. What about an example where it worked well?
Contrast that with the Gulf War in 1991. General Norman Schwarzkopf was given complete command authority over all coalition forces, clear objectives, unified command.
And the result?
The Iraqi army, one of the largest in the world at the time, was decisively defeated in less than 100 hours of ground combat. The difference unified command makes is just staggering.
Does this principle apply outside the military? Like in business?
Absolutely. Think about Chrysler Corporation in the early 80s. They were heading towards bankruptcy. Why? Part of the problem is they had something like 36 vice presidents, each running their own little empire, often working against each other. No unity.
No chaos.
Total chaos. Then Lee Iacocca came in. What did he do first?
Imposed unity of command.
You got it. He consolidated power, made it clear who was in charge. That allowed him to make tough decisions, negotiate loans, get union concessions, and turn the company around. They repaid a massive $1.2 billion government loan years ahead of schedule. Unity of command saved Chrysler.
Even controversial figures like Chainsaw Al Dunlap used this, right?
Yeah.
Taking complete charge.
Exactly. His method was often brutal, but it was effective in turning around failing companies, precisely because he established absolute unity of command and focused resources groups.
Okay, so how does this translate to us as individuals? Not everyone is a general or CEO.
But everyone leads at some level. You lead projects, you lead teams, you lead your family, you lead yourself. To break through barriers, you have to aspire to leadership in your own domain. And the good news is, leaders are mostly made, not born. It's about delivering them.
And leadership involves power. You mentioned different forms of power.
Yes, typically three main types. First, position power. This comes with the title of the org chart. Authority to hire, fire, give raises. But it belongs to the position, not the person. You lose the job, you lose the power.
Okay, position power. What's next?
Second, expert power. This you earn by being exceptionally good at what you do. People respect your knowledge, your skill, your judgment. They defer to you because you know your stuff. This power stays with you, regardless of title. It's why becoming excellent is so crucial.
Makes sense. And the third type?
Third, ascribed power. This is interesting. Others give you this power because they like you, they trust you, they believe in you. They see you as someone who can help them achieve their goals. It's a blend of competence, character, and connection. Very powerful.
So modern leadership isn't just about barking orders from the top.
Not at all. It's much more about influence, involvement, collaboration. But the leader still needs to provide that unifying direction. They focus on the needs of the situation and keep asking that key question. What can I, and only I, do right now that will make the biggest difference?
And vision is key here too, right? Providing that unifying picture.
Vision is probably the most common trait of effective leaders. Seeing the big picture, 3 of 5 years out. Articulating a compelling future that inspires people to follow. You know the proverb. Where there is no vision, the people perish.
Even simple visions work, like Coke versus Pepsi.
Absolutely. For decades, Coca-Cola's unofficial mission was beat Pepsi. Pepsi's was beat Coke. Simple, clear, unifying, motivating. Gave everyone a target.
Leaders also focus on strengths, don't they? Not just weaknesses.
Yes. Great leaders build on strengths their own and those of their team. Trying to fix every little weakness is often less effective than leveraging what people already do well.
What about core competencies, those key skills? You mentioned they can become obsolete.
They can, and that's a huge danger related to unity of command, ensuring the command is focused on the future, not the past. Think of France before WWII building the Maginot Line.
Ah, the giant defensive bunkers.
Exactly. They unified their command and resources around this massive static defense based on the last war, WWI trench warfare. Meanwhile, Germany was developing fast-moving tanks and dive bombers, the Blitzkrieg. The Maginot Line became irrelevant, easily bypassed.
So the leadership, the unified command, was focused on the wrong competency for the future.
Precisely. A critical lesson. Constantly reassess if your core strengths and focus are aligned with where the world is going, not where it's been.
What other qualities are essential for this kind of unifying leadership?
Leading by example is huge. Leaders live in a goldfish bowl. Everything they do, everything they say gets noticed, amplified, interpreted. You have to walk the talk, choose your words and actions carefully.
And integrity. Trust.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Integrity is the bedrock. Trust is the glue that holds everything together. Without it, leadership collapses. If you work for someone you don't trust, it's usually best to move on. Be true to your own values.
Since life is full of tests and crises are inevitable, do leaders anticipate them?
The best ones do. They practice crisis anticipation. They ask, what's the worst that could happen here? What are our vulnerabilities? And then they take steps to mitigate those risks before the crisis hits. Like that company heavily reliant on one customer, they anticipated the risk and diversified. Proactive defense through anticipation.
Okay, so if we were to boil down the principles of leadership for peak performance based on this unity of command idea, what would they be?
I'd say 5 key things. 1. Clear objectives, defined, discussed, agreed upon, measurable, time-bound. 2. Shared values. Everyone knows what the team stands for in practice. 3. Shared plans, clear roles and responsibilities for everyone.
Okay, objectives, values, plans. 4.
4. Leading the action, the leader sets the example, ensures the team has resources, removes roadblocks. And 5. Regular evaluation, constantly asking, how are we doing? Measuring performance against standards. Externally, that's customer satisfaction. Internally, it's happy, productive people.
So ultimately, you become a leader in your own life.
By thinking like one, acting like one, practicing these qualities, taking command of your situation, and accepting full responsibility, that's unity of command applied personally. 6. Gather intelligence. The infinite game of learning.
All right, our final principle for today, number 6, gather intelligence. This sounds critical, especially given everything we've discussed about complexity and change.
It's absolutely vital. In military terms, intelligence is about knowing the enemy, their positions, plans, strengths, weaknesses. It informs every strategic decision. It's so crucial the U.S. government spends close to $100 billion a year just on intelligence gathering.
Wow, $100 billion. That shows its importance. Can one piece of intelligence really make that much difference?
History says absolutely yes. Think about Britain cracking the German Enigma code in WWII.
Ultra.
Exactly. Knowing German plans in advance gave the Allies a massive advantage, arguably shortening the war by years. Sometimes they even had to make agonizing choices, like letting the city of Coventry be bombed to protect the secret that they knew.
Incredible sacrifice to protect the intelligence source.
Or think about the assassination of Admiral Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor. The U.S. intercepted a corded radio message detailing his flight plans. One piece of intel led to removing a key enemy strategist. It can change everything.
Okay, so how does this apply to us in our businesses or personal lives? We don't have spy agencies.
But the principle is the same. Your ability to constantly gather information, upgrade your knowledge, understand your market, your competitors, your own strengths and weaknesses, that's your intelligence. American companies spend over $1 billion a year just on market research.
So gathering information is critical for success.
Critical. One single insight, one new piece of information can spark a breakthrough product, reveal a new market opportunity, help you solve a persistent problem, or guide a major career decision.
There's a model for this, isn't there? The I3 model.
Yes, Charles Handy's I3 model. It shows the progression. You start with raw information, just gathering data, facts, news from everywhere. Then you process that into intelligence, synthesizing it, analyzing it, understanding its meaning and implications based on your experience.
Information, intelligence, and the third I.
Ideas. Higher levels of intelligence, deeper understanding, naturally lead to more and better ideas. And in today's world, ideas are the real currency. Ideas are the true source of wealth and progress.
So gathering intelligence fuels idea generation.
Absolutely. Think about it. They say the average person has several million-dollar ideas every year. They just float through our heads. The key is capturing them, evaluating them, acting on them.
Like Walt Disney visiting Tivoli Gardens.
Perfect example. He saw Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen, gathered that intelligence, synthesized it with his own vision, and the idea for Disneyland was born, which then led to Disney World, the whole empire. One insight, one idea, triggered by gathering external information.
This really connects to Jack Welch's reality principle too, doesn't it?
Yes, always ask, What is the reality here? What are the facts? Effective decisions, effective problem solving, they must be based on real facts, not assumptions, wishful thinking, or what seems apparent on the surface. Get the real intelligence.
So we need to be asking the hard questions.
Constantly. Who is my customer, really? What do they truly value? What's my unique edge today? What will it need to be tomorrow? Because the landscape is shifting constantly.
You mentioned that 80% of products we use didn't exist 5 years ago.
Exactly. And 80% of what we'll use in 5 years is probably being invented right now. The future isn't just something that happens, it's created by those who gather the best intelligence and act on it. The best way to predict the future is to create it.
And creating it requires constant learning, right? Because knowledge gets outdated so fast.
Like never before. Your mind truly is like a muscle, use it or lose it. Continuous learning isn't a luxury anymore. It's a basic requirement for survival and success.
You see the income difference, right, between learners and non-learners.
Stark difference. People committed to lifelong learning often see their incomes rise 8%, 10%, even 25% per year. Those who stop learning often see their incomes stagnate or even decline relative to inflation.
And education itself has a huge dollar value over a lifetime.
Massive. A bachelor's degree adds hundreds of thousands, often over $1 million, in lifetime earnings compared to just high school. Masters, PhDs, professional degrees add even more. The investment in learning pays incredible dividends.
So continuous learning is the minimum standard. Are there different kinds of learning we should be aware of?
Yeah, broadly 3 types. First, maintenance learning. This is just keeping up, staying current in your field. Necessary, but it just keeps you even, like light exercise.
Good maintenance. Second,
Growth learning. This actively adds new knowledge, new skills, learning a new software, a new language, a new marketing technique. This pushes you forward.
and the third type sounds intriguing, shock learning.
Yeah, this happens when something unexpected occurs that contradicts or even reverses what you thought you knew. A surprising success, a sudden failure, a disruptive technology. Peter Drucker said this is often where true innovation comes from. It forces you to rethink everything.
But sometimes people resist that shock, right? The not-invented hero syndrome.
Exactly. NIH. Companies or people rejecting a great idea simply because it came from outside. Xerox famously invented the core ideas behind the personal computer, but didn't capitalize on it because it wasn't their core business. They rejected the shock.
Whereas others embrace new ideas quickly.
Think of American pragmatism. Historically, the focus is often just, does it work? And speed, time to market. Being open to external intelligence and acting fast is a huge advantage.
It all comes back to knowledge being the key asset.
It truly is. Your intellectual capital, your skills, that's what walks out the door every night. And here's a powerful idea. Good people are free.
Good people are free. How?
Because highly competent, knowledgeable people contribute far more in value and profitability than they cost in salary. That's why the best companies obsess over attracting and keeping the best talent. They generate surplus value.
So the takeaway for us is become a learning machine.
Yes, be relentless. Gobble up ideas, information, insights from everywhere. That's how you stay in the top 10%. Every single improvement in your life, big or small, starts with a new idea, fueled by new intelligence. Remember, the future belongs to the competent, not just the well-meaning.
Okay, how do we make this practical? What are the daily habits of gathering intelligence?
4 main things. 1, read. Every day. At least an hour in your field. Leaders or readers. Read, underline, take notes. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body.
Read daily. 2,
Stay current. Subscribe to key magazines, newsletters, websites in your industry and related fields. Know what's happening.
3,
Train. Attend courses, seminars, workshops. Invest in upgrading your skills constantly, online or in person.
and 4.
Listen. Use audio programs, podcasts like this one. Turn driving time, commute time, exercise time into learning time. Your car can be a university on wheels.
Read, stay current, train, listen. It sounds like a commitment.
It is, but the payoff is enormous. This constant gathering of intelligence saves you time, prevents mistakes, expands your opportunities, boosts your income, builds incredible confidence and self-reliance, makes you a master of change, and ultimately it gives you the firepower, the ammunition you need to blast through any success barrier in your path.
Wow. Okay, that brings us full circle. We've covered a lot of ground today. It really does feel like life is a battle sometimes, doesn't it?
It often does. Constant challenges, obstacles.
But what we've seen is that by applying these strategies, these simple but really powerful principles, derived from some of history's greatest military minds like Alexander Rommel Schwarzkopf, you can actually gain a strategic edge.
You absolutely can. You can learn to defeat those internal enemies, fear and doubt, and really start moving towards everything you dreamed of, maybe even more.
You've got equipping yourself with the right thinking tools for your own battlefield.
Exactly. Which leads us to maybe one final thought for everyone listening from all over.
Okay, let's hear it.